looks like we're going to be seeing Forky versus FFRPro coming up next.
In the winners finals. Now, Forky, as we mentioned before, is picking the most unfair character. Giovanni having Persian. Persian is a very unique character because he is the only one with the star trash block, the normal color trash block.
True, you're absolutely right. And at the same time, my friend who doesn't even play this game, but he would watch me play and hear me playing. He would come into the room. He's like, "Yo, what are you doing to this poor cat?" Because you just hear meow, you know. But either way, a very quick win for Forky, 13 seconds, and that's because partially because we moved up to 10 speed right now. Level 10, you know, if everything we said about level 8 being harder than level 5 applies doubly as much to level 10, including the addition of the dark blue blocks right here.
The dark blue blocks come in at level 9, but at level 10, stop time is virtually non-existent. If you ever played the spa service mode, the very final, I guess, puzzle against Giovanni is at this speed. And you can notice that even as Forky was raising his stack, you know, FFR, as long as they're not doing anything, that stack rises noticeably.
Absolutely. And one thing to know is I like that you mentioned spa service because FFR is actually, I think he's our leading spa service player, so he should be somewhat familiar with the 10 speed, so I expect great things out of him in that regard. He has that slight advantage against people like Forky who maybe focus more on running through the campaign mode, you know, going through the entire story mode at the regular 5 speed. FFRPro is probably the one that has the most experience playing at this level of play.
I mean, Forky is no stranger to it. He's been in plenty of tournaments, and tournaments usually in finals, you know, winners finals, losers, and grands. Traditionally played at like either 9 or 10.
You're not wrong, but I feel like FFRPro has made pretty much a career of his play in spa service. I think that he has a slight advantage there. But looking at this right now, I mean, it's still dead even. This is the first long match that we've had. We see both players performing well. They're a little bit more Hold up.
As you said that, we have another win by FFR. You know, FFR is also, I would give it another advantage to him because he's a very offensive player. I like to classify kind of like the general playstyle, and FFR is a very, you know, he gets started, gets big chains and big attacks. But if you were to play a long endurance match, that's usually when he's most vulnerable.
I agree, and I also thought that he is one of the faster players mechanically speaking. Like his block movement is usually quicker than the average player. But I took a quick peek at Forky. Earlier he told me that he thinks of himself as a mechanically slower player, but I don't see it right now. Forky is fired up right now the way he's playing.
I think out of the top out of like the top few players, he's probably the slowest, but he's definitely no slouch.
And he's playing very fast right now, and he actually managed to put FFR in a position where there was no clear left for him. Even before the last few combos that FFR did, I think he was just trying to survive long enough to see if there's a chance that Forky might die first. But he was already lacking a clear for the past 15 seconds in that situation. And that's just a terrible feeling. Sometimes that them's the breaks, you know, that just happens sometimes. Alright, so now we're in the deciding match of the first series. This is best of 3, best of 5s technically, and
I think winners finals. That's still best of 3. I think it should be best of 5.
Oh, best of 5, best of 5s.
Yeah.
Well, that means that both players have a lot of time to deal with each other because right now they're playing very evenly, you know, trading sets back and forth. But the games, just like in the previous series we saw, they're getting slightly longer each time, or at least more consistent from both players. Both players may be warming up a little bit more and getting more used to the speed that they're dealing with right now.
And also kind of adjusting to their opponents' like play style. You know, as I mentioned before, FFR is a very like heavily offensive. Like when he's strongest is probably within the first 20 seconds. When he launches that first massive attack.
No, I also think that his experience in spa service should definitely help him out, though, in terms of being able to clear the existing blocks. But as we saw it in the game before the last one, it sometimes gets him in trouble because he gets rid of too much stuff and he ends up with no clear. So it's definitely there's a feasible difference between the way these players play, and it's interesting to see how the interaction between their approaches work out.
So we did have a character swap. FFR going to old reliable Koga. You know, I normally wouldn't switch because if whatever's annoying your opponent in the first round will probably annoy him the entire time. So,
I also have like a very deep-rooted fealty to my character of choice. I would never switch out of him mid-set, but some players I feel like they're more flexible. You know, I mean, they have a lot of respect for the entire cast, so it's nice to see a little bit of diversity here and there. You know, maybe a little bit of fan service. It's hard to know. We should maybe interview these players at some point to find out why they choose the characters that they do. But Koga is, I would say, at least an A-tier character with the characters that he has available.
He did randomize it, so I don't wanna...
Yeah, so maybe it's not that deep. Maybe I was overthinking
not
things.
That deep. No faith.
I just want to mention something really quick. FFRPro did a really amazing swap on the left-hand side earlier with 4 hearts. He swapped in a heart that would have been his only available clear. He did a very mechanically difficult move in order to make that succeed, and that's the only reason he's alive right now. I mean, he's still under a fair amount of pressure, but sometimes you have to do things that seem impossible in order to stay alive, especially at speeds like this.
Well, you might have not seen it before, but even in winners quarters, he was doing skill chains, just, you know, at level 9, at level 8. You know, he manages to adapt very quickly between different speed levels. So
yeah,
that is a very impressive thing. That is something that, you know, if I'm not warmed up to a speed, I can definitely, you know, I can't do, and it's not something that I would push to do in a tournament setting. So.
But I hate to keep harping on the same thing, but I think that spot service definitely helps out with that. Is the fact that the speed of the game changes incrementally as you're playing. So he has more experience at different speeds per day than I think most other players. So right now we see him kind of well ahead of Bbforky in this second set. This is match point for him right now.
Well, it would be set point.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's best of 5. I'm so sorry. That's my fault. I'm sorry. but it's still, he is relatively dominant right now, and I'm a little bit worried for Forky.
I mean, I would think Forky is a very calculating player. If he can just outlast the initial burst from FFR, it's a very even match.
Yeah, Forky has a lot of experience. He's definitely a staple of the scene. He's been playing for God knows how long. So I think that while FFRPro has been playing for a long time too, I feel like Forky has enough experience to not get rattled by the current standing between the two of them.
Absolutely. And Forky, you know, he's been a consistently top player in tournaments for a very long time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just saw him take 2 quick ones off of FFRPro there. FFRPro not really managing to launch any attack of his own, but Forky quickly packing it up. In 24 seconds, he took 2 games, just like that, 2 Pokeballs. So it's another best of 5 deciding match right here.
Now, couldn't tell you the exact number, but I would think Forky has a slight edge over FFR in tournament matches.
In the head-to-head?
In the past. So, I mean, it could just be like at the end of the day, or it could be, you know, the tournament clutch factor that Forky has. Yeah, it's not just raw skill. So.
Alright, we're seeing Blaine coming out right here.
Yeah, maybe constantly switching characters, keeping your opponent on edge.
Absolutely.
Maybe that is a strategy.
You gotta hit him with the poison from Koga, hit him with the fire from Cinnabar Island. You know, hit him from all sides. You can't find. You have to find out what their weakness is.
You gotta keep them guessing. Now,
so far,
I've always been a proponent that in S hard, if you don't always pick Pikachu, you get better RNG. So, you know, FFR taking some, you know, real strats from the the washed up mask.
And speaking about FFR, he's gotten a series of really unfortunate block appearances, like when you clear the next level of garbage and you realize you don't have a clear. There's no feasible clear for you to have for the next level. He had a couple of those in a row, and just bad RNG like that can sometimes really throw a peg, like a stick into your bike wheel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can really slow you down enough for you to be almost pretty sizably behind right now, but he's still pushing onwards. He's not dead yet. And as I say that, finally the stat got too high for him.
Yeah, he's definitely still not a player to get flustered by it. You know, FFR has also been a veteran of many tournaments. He won't get rattled too much by either bad RNG or an unfortunate move here or there. So
yeah, but at this speed, at 10 speed, it doesn't matter if you're flustered or not. If you make a mistake, sometimes it could be just over, and that's what we saw in that game. Got a little bit behind, and then he made one mistake, and that was a wrap for him, and that's the scenario. But right now, FFR playing very patiently. He waited out that stack. He stopped comboing at the bottom because he knows he has to clear immediately. But right now, he's struggling to find a clear, and he couldn't. Yeah. He almost had the blues right there, the light blue. I guess they're triangles. Yeah.
Yeah, that goes back to how little stop time they have. He only had 2 blocks to move to get that clear, and he could only do 1 in time. So, being as fast as he is and still not able to get that clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually the way that you keep your stop time raised is by making 3s, and he was making 3s all over the place. It still wasn't enough for him to jump the cursor all the way back up there and drop the blue triangle all the way down. It's just so unforgiving at this pace, but he's doing a great job right now. We got a quick clear. 7s, a 7 combo is really just not the optimal amount that you want to make. Pretty much any number other than 7 is better because the 7 makes a solid line bar on the opponent's side. Which is just as easy to clear as a regular 2-chain. A 6 or an 8 would have done better, but at this pace, there's no choice. You just have to make whatever clears, and that's it.
Yeah, or even a 5 or 4 combo, because they take up also 1 row, but they don't give your opponent as many blocks to work with.
Yeah, and they also present a very uneven clearing surface for the next level, I guess you could say, if we're looking at it right now. That whole entire block by Forky, while massive, was relatively easy to clear because it had a very even clearing surface. Not to say that Forky made a mistake or that FFRPro is getting ahead as a result. I still think that FFRPro is a little bit behind right now, but he gained an opportunity as a result of the fact that there was a better clearing surface there. And I'm actually surprised that FFR is still going, and I keep doing it's like a commentator's curse at this point. I'm like, wow, I can't believe he's still alive. Oh, he did. But yeah. He was doing very well right there, despite the amount of pressure that he had for the past at least 30 seconds in that match. So even though Forky took that one, I have to say that FFRPro is definitely playing well right now.
Yeah, and I think, Forky is a very more observant player. I would say
How do you mean?
Somebody like FFR or Blinzer are very mechanically adept. They move very fast, they can launch huge attacks. But Forky is one who pays a lot more attention to his opponent and exactly what he's executing, rather than just trying to, I'm going to dump giant trash blocks on my opponent and just hope they stop moving at something.
No, I can definitely see that. And I think once again, and like I said, I hate to harp on this again, but this is one of the differences between people who speedrun campaign mode and people who play spa service, or like Blinzer who does a time attack, I think it's called. In those modes, you don't have the same sense of need to read the other person's block. You don't have to calculate when to stop chaining or when to drop that combo or when to do this or that, because you don't have to pay attention to the other screen. You just react to what you see.
Right.
Exactly. So I think that Forky definitely has an advantage in that regard. As you said, in terms of observation, he's able to look at the opponent's screen and know when it's time to drop that, when it's time to do this. And maybe FFRPro just doesn't have that skill as well trained as Forky does.
Mm-hmm. And this is a very, even though FFR looks like he might have the advantage mechanically, this is still ending up to be very close. We haven't had a very extremely what I would call one-sided type of match. Some of the others might have been.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been a struggle for both players, up and down. And I do think that the momentum is favoring Forky a little bit by right now, though, especially considering the fact that that he's coming back from a 2-0 deficit. I mean, as I say that, he dies, but I just can't stop myself. I know.
You have cursed both these players like 3 times apiece already.
I know. My curse transcends time and space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cursing people in the future and in the past. Like, anyone who I'm commentating now is probably going to lose their next 10 matches. I don't know.
I'm going to make a special request that you never commentate my matches.
That's a little bit rude, but I understand the circumstances. And anyway, let's getting back into the game. FFRPro really showing a lot of mechanical prowess in order to get that 8-chain at 10 speed right there off the starting block, but he somehow manages to die.
Yeah,
no.
that little, you know, 4 combo that just kind of like ever so slightly impedes your opponent's like ability to swap blocks. That is, it's really annoying to have at the bottom of your stack. So
absolutely. Yeah, he had what I would say looked like the better start from what I saw, but the blocks he was left with were just not sufficient in order to continue that momentum. He couldn't defend himself after attacking. He went a little bit too all out, and Forky had a really nice place for there, as you said.
If he actually didn't have that trash block there, he had 2 opportunities to like make very easy clears, just by, you know, moving pieces to the right and just dropping blocks out of his, you know, main working area. That would have been so nice to just not have that 4 combo there.
Yeah, and at a lower speed, at a lower level, maybe it would be possible, but at 10 level, it's not possible at all. That was just wraps, and that's why I feel like tactics, as we mentioned earlier, might be especially important at this speed, because even slight annoyances that we've all seen happen to each one of us hundreds of times become that much more pressing at this speed. Oof.
Ooh.
Yeah, FFRPro was playing really well right there.
Caught by another, you know, just small moves, just very small things could make very big differences. So.
Absolutely.